Hey there guys, today we're going to be doing some oil painting and I'm really excited. Okay, so I've been wanting to do oil painting for a while now and I've been slowly collecting what I needed to do the painting, and now I have everything. I have a sketchbook where I'm going to paint, I have gesso to prep the surface, I have all the paints, I have linseed oil. I'm not going to use anything other than what I just said because I don't want this to be a toxic experience. I don't want toxic fumes all over my bedroom or anything like that, so I'm going to stick to a very pure oil painting process and we'll see how this goes. Now I've watched a few tutorials and I kind of know what to expect, but I think it's going to be hard because it's a kind of a painting process that goes wet on wet, and I'm very used to letting paint dry to paint on top of it, and I'm very much a layering person, but in a sense of with the paint drying, not with it being wet. So I am curious to see how this is gonna go, and I wanted to film the process of painting with oils for the first time ever. Now, to be completely transparent, this is not the first time. I have painted with those paints, but not in oil painting way. So I've kind of used them as I'd use any like acrylic paints. So I didn't use them correctly. I ended up with a really messy kind of painting. I don't know, like it was not good. Now I'm going in after watching some tutorials, some tip videos, some process videos, and kind of going in with a little bit more knowledge and with the right materials, and hopefully it'll work better this time. So for this process, I'm going to be painting a cat in like a side profile of a cat. Obviously I had to go with cats, but I want to take you guys throughout the entire process from start to finish, from gessoing to sketching to then the finish, like with the painting process and then looking at the finished product. So I hope this is kind of like somewhat enjoyable to see the entire process and how I went about it. And if you do oil paint and you see me do something wrong or you have any tips and tricks, let me know down below. I'd love to get your thoughts on how I did and also like what I could do better, because I feel like oil painting is very particular. So if you have any advice, I would very much appreciate it. Now let's get into the video. So let's get into the explanation of the process and what the hell was going through my brain whilst doing this painting. So as you were able to see, I started off by adding some gesso to the paper. I only showed you one of the layers that I did, but I did do 3 layers, and I changed the direction of the brush strokes between the layers just to fill in any gaps that the gesso couldn't have filled in the paper. Now, after this, you would probably sand the paper. I didn't feel like sanding it. I don't mind the texture. I didn't feel like sanding it, so I didn't. But in retrospect, I would sand it down just to take away the glossiness of the gesso, make it rough so the paint can stick to it better. Because as you'll see throughout this process, the theme of it is that the paint doesn't stick. And this was a big issue for me. So I think that maybe if I had started from the beginning with sanding down the gesso, it would have been better. There's a reason why everyone does it, and that must be it. So next time I'm definitely going to be doing that. I'm going to be sanding down the paper. And afterwards, I decided to lay down a base color of orange because this was an orange cat. And I decided to mix in some oil and use it as a base. Now, I've seen people do this online, and I saw it on tutorials. You can use either paint thinner or you can use the linseed oil, and it should work either way. Now, what they don't explain to you is by doing this, everything you put on top will slip and slide everywhere. The oil doesn't go anywhere, especially with the gesso being the way it was. It just sits there, and it's like trying to paint within a plate full of vegetable oil. It's not easy to do, and that's the struggle I had throughout this entire process. The paint just kept slipping and sliding everywhere, and I couldn't build on top. I couldn't add brush strokes on top because the bottom layers would lift up and go away. I think this is also due to the paints I was using, because for the majority of this painting I used the tubes that you see on screen, like from the cheap set that I got. And then the only color I didn't use from that set was the white. I used the white from the bigger tubes that I had, and that one didn't. So the smaller one squirted a lot of oil whilst taking out the colors. It was a struggle, to be honest, but the white one didn't, and the consistency of the paint was completely different. It was a lot smoother, a lot thicker, and I was able to work with it. So I think that maybe, to join to the fact that I added oil in the base, the fact that my paints were really, really greasy and oily because oil was the majority of the product that was coming off, I think that influenced the outcome and the struggling that I had to go through. Because when using the white, I was able to blend, I was able to layer. It was thicker and more painty consistency. So I think that maybe the paints that I used weren't the best, and I'm definitely going to, once this painting is dry, I'm definitely gonna try and mix the paints better and try out other paint tubes that I have to see if the paint will work better. I will have an easier time, and I'm definitely gonna scrap the underpainting. If I'm gonna do an underpainting, I'm gonna mix it in acrylic with the gesso underneath, and then I'm gonna paint on top of that. I'm not gonna do the underpainting anymore. I'm either starting with a blank canvas or with a colored gesso canvas, just to avoid these issues. Now, whilst painting, I tried to block in colors, and one thing I saw was start from dark to light, and I don't usually do this. That's why I made it into a challenge a couple weeks ago, and I was trying really hard to work from dark to light, and especially because oil paints are supposed to go through from dark to light. It didn't quite work that well, exactly because everything was slipping around. And when I look at this painting, I don't see very opaque colors and opaque areas. I can still see the white underneath because it wasn't opaque. The paint wasn't thick enough for that, and the oils weren't allowing for that. So I struggled throughout the entire process, but I do feel like in some moments I was able to blend. Some areas I was able to blend more than others. I really think this has potential to be a very blended look, and I think I kind of like that, aspect. Usually my paintings are very streaky, but not in a bad way. Just I like, to see all the colors, all the brush strokes and everything. I like that effect. But when you want something a bit more blended, I think this is the way to go. And there is the potential for that. I think I messed it up with all the things that I've said so far, and so I had a harder time achieving that. But I do feel like it's something that's definitely possible to do, and it's something that with practice and with fixing up the paints, I think it'll get there for sure. Now, talking about the subject and how I butchered this poor cat. So this was an orange cat. I thought he was really cute and I really like his side profile. But cats are difficult to draw and paint, and especially on the side profile. I've done it successfully in the past, but I haven't done it in the recently, so I had a bit of a hard time figuring that out, and the cat ended up looking a bit derpy, and with the struggling of the paint, he just looks a bit derpy. But I think in the end he's not that bad. I was able to add shadows and light where it was supposed to go. I was able to add some texture to him, so it kind of seems like he has texture, which with cats and cat hair, that's very important. And in the end, I do like the color choices I made. I would have done the background in a different color though, so I would finish up the background in green, like the eye color green, because I feel like that would create a better contrast other than making it dark orange, which kind of blended everything out. But yeah, I kind of enjoy how the process and how the painting ended up looking like. And if you see right when I'm painting the eye, I was able to blend the eye really well, and I was able to, add shadows and make it look cute. And that was one of the places where I was able to blend it, because it took the white that I was talking about. So it was easier to blend. So I need to figure out the painting situation for sure. Now, I don't know how long this is going to take to dry, because since I didn't use any drying mediums that you'd use to accelerate the process. This painting was done weeks ago by now, by the moment that I'm recording this, and it hasn't dried yet. It's still very much wet to the touch, and I don't know how long it's going to take to dry, especially having an account that, since I used it like oil as a base, it definitely, I think it's going to take a lot longer, because that's what to keep in mind. If you're going to do this with an oil base, keep in mind that it is going to take a lot longer to dry. And this is something whilst editing this, I watched Lil Star Nerd's video on the big gigantic oil painting she did of a night, which let's talk about it. It's beautiful. It's magnificent. I love it, and I love her paintings as usual. She's so talented, and if you don't follow her, you have to definitely check her out. But she was talking about, in the end, she was talking about how first time she tried oil painting, she did this exact same method where she used the oil to create a base underneath, and everything slipped and slided around, and it was wet for eternity, and it took over a month to dry or something like that. And I feel her. This is how to me, I figured out that maybe this was the biggest mistake I did. I knew it was a mistake by the time I finished this painting, but as of editing, I think it was what threw away the opportunity of creating a decent piece with this video. It was definitely this part. So if you're out there and you're trying oil painting, don't do the oil method. Just don't do the base layer, forget about it, or do it in acrylic when you put some gesso on the paper. And yeah, so definitely keep that in mind. Oil underneath, not gonna work. And now that with retrospect, I love the fact that I chose a sketchbook to have fun with this, because I would have wasted a canvas with this painting. But at the same time, it's taking so long to dry, and I kind of just want to paint again, and I haven't been able to do so because it hasn't dried. So keep in mind that's going to happen if you choose a sketchbook to draw in and to paint in. So yeah, this is all that's going through my brain whilst watching this back and while I was painting. So yeah, I hope this kind of gives you an idea of what I went through and how this whole process went. And hopefully next time it'll be better. So, looking at this finalized piece, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, okay? I do see a lot that could have been better, and I did see myself blending in a few areas more than on others. I do feel like I messed up with the base. I started the base with some oil and I shouldn't have done that. Everything else melted into the base oil and I didn't like that because I felt like no matter how much paint I put onto the paper, it wasn't sticking right. So I'm definitely gonna do that differently next time. And it was an interesting experience. And I do gotta say that if I was doing this in gouache, it would have been so much quicker. It would have been a much quicker process. I would have been done by now. It would have so much more detail. I would individualize each stroke, but I wasn't able to do that throughout this process. And that's fine because this is different paint, so it was always going to be different. I guess I just expected to be a bit more controlled. It's very, very much not a controlled paint, and it's hard to learn how to control it. And that's actually something that I really want to get to learn, because in the few moments that I was able to blend with this, I feel like I made it work. If I learn how to blend this correctly and how to do it correctly, I think it will look pretty good. I really want to learn how to do it better. It motivated me to do better and to learn more and to experience more. Also, I do think that a few things that I did weren't as good, but can't wait to keep on experimenting and trying out new things and really working through this. And maybe in a couple months, I'll be able to do something comparable, but much better and work a lot better with the medium. Now, I want to show you guys the finished piece and I hope you guys enjoy it. And I know it's not perfect. Keep in mind, it's my first ever try, so it's not gonna be perfect, but I want to show you how it looks finally done. And yeah, let's go. I gotta say it looks pretty nice. I do see a lot of things that could be better. Definitely not how you should use the medium for sure, but as a first try, it's not that bad. It's looking kind of nice. The cat is a bit wonky, let's be real. He's a bit derpy. He's a derpy cat, but we like him. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below and like this video. If you haven't, please do subscribe. And if you want to see more oil painting videos of me struggling to learn how to oil paint, let me know. I'll definitely start including some more of those. If you'd like to keep up to date with me, you can also check out my other social medias in the links down below, and I will see you guys next week for another video. Bye.